Whose TV numbers are right, Star Trek? Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland for some sanity and clarity coming at you here in all things Star Trek this week. Oh, I'm so excited. I've got to get to it. There is so much going on. I'm going to be here talking today, Dr. Trek, on this topic. Whose TV numbers can you trust? Can you believe? If you're watching us later, we'd really love to have you live on Tuesdays afternoon. I know everybody can make that. And I do want to remind everybody before we go any further that coming up, we are like in the final days for our Gene Roddenberry Great Bird Origins Tour, okay? It's awesome. I have been trying to get the word out that we've got 4 seats left. Today, this is not a third Tuesday, but I'm going to tell you, we've got 2 seats for the first people that can grab them that are $50 off, but I got to know by Thursday midnight. We've wound up with just a little space, and I'd like to see everybody jump in. We've got a little swag. We've got 2 days, and yes, we have Rod Roddenberry with us for most of Sunday, and we're ending with a screening of Trek Nation at Roddenberry headquarters with Rod there. It'll be a great time. It'll be a very special time. If you can jump in here at the very end, but we've got to cut things off. This is a week from this weekend. It's August 20th and 21st. It ends the Gene Roddenberry centennial year in a big way, and it's the weekend before Trek Vegas, so that might fit in with some of your travel plans as well, okay? So, getting that out of the way, we are in a hiatus time. And I do want to say also, there's a little bit of breaking news. Ben Robinson, who many of you know from Eagle Moss, I go back with him all the way to the Fact Files days. A lot of people have been shaken and disappointed and upset and saddened, angry by the pending bankruptcy reorganization, perhaps, of Eagle Moss, Hero Collector. Now, whether that means they will emerge from bankruptcy, whether that means that they're liquefying the assets right now, something's got to come out of it. And it's in the UK, so it's their legal system. The thing is that no longer being an employee of Eagle Moss, and I'm saying this off the cuff, I'm just catching up on this the last 24 hours. Ben has been tweeting. He's been telling the world that he's trying to get the assets and reestablish. A lot of people got cut midway through their Enterprise D, assemble the Enterprise D model. A lot of people were left hanging, much less their subscriptions. Much less just the idea of future ships. And we're just talking Star Trek, not even the Doctor Who franchise or the other franchises that they kindred to. So he's saying, go and check his Twitter feed. I think it's Ben S. Robinson. Stay tuned there. And he's also looking for a show of support as people try to pick up the pieces and move on, hopefully with some of these actual products and product lines intact. I wanted to get out there as a shout out of support for Ben and for the whole Eagle Moss community. Hopefully salvaging that. I've been part of things that blew up suddenly once or twice that were Star Trek licensees. I know how that feels, and I know how people feel who are depending on that. Check out, follow Ben, see what's going on if you have any interest at all, or even if you just want to be a show of support for another Star Trek entity that's brought so much joy to fans around the world that could use your help now. In retrospect. And I know everybody in licensing on the corporate side of the studio side is anxious to maybe help them, whatever can be done to help them salvage the wonderful merchandise, the wonderful vibe, even the publications, perhaps. So we'll see how that goes. Did want to put that out as kind of a last minute thing. But also in the last few days, my eye has been drawn to a couple of different headlines about the business side of Star Trek. And of course, here in Trekland, we're all about the actors and all about the backstage and all about some of the fun stuff. But also, the thing that makes it go is not a bunch of Packlids. It is the almighty dollar or pound or euro, or wherever you're living. A pair of conflicting headlines caught my eye in the last few days. One of them bolstered, it was spurred on by our good friends at Paramount Analytics, who aren't political, who don't have a dog in the race, but actually somebody from their insights team supplied some, it's just the byline is just Paramount Analytics, supplied some insight and commentary to the Wrap Pro, thewrap.com. This was just a couple of days ago. This was just yesterday. The headline is Why Paramount Plus Needs to Look for New Frontiers to Compete in the Streaming Wars, with charts. And of course, Parrot Analytics, as you who follow us every week here, they have a algorithm called average demand expression, where they scour the internet to look for, they're trying to get a gauge on relative popularity of all these digital streaming series which we've been following for the last, since 2017 in the dawn of Discovery. But for the history of television, at least in the States, commercial TV, we've all, as a byproduct of setting ad rates for commercials for a popular show versus an unpopular show, you shouldn't have to pay the same ad rate, a sponsor. The byproduct of that has been, we've seen those numbers have been published, and it gave us an instant view to who was popular, who wasn't, over time, head to head even. Or it didn't, if you want to quibble with their methodology. Streaming did away with all that, and we've been following week to week as best we can, especially the Star Trek series, how they shape up in this average demand expression, which is looking at the modern world of streaming, no commercials, no ad rates, but also internet access, the way it's not just watching it on your little TV set. You're on your phone and your pad and wherever you might get it. And Parrot is one of the companies that's done it. They've kind of been at it the longest. It's probably been close to 10 years soon. They've also got a very, very busy insights department that takes all that data and does something with it. They're trying to monetize it, obviously, and be a consultant to studios and producers and sponsors and all kinds of entities. But they share a lot of it with the public. This they did with different news outlets. And with TheWrap.com, this article about why Paramount needs to look for new frontiers to compete in the streaming wars. Whole point is they're saying their premise, or their theory, that they've looked at data and they present here. But the bottom line is that they say that the newness of all the new Star Trek is wearing thin, having the back catalog in one place, which it's actually not going to be much longer, counting some of the movies, for a temporary time anyway. But right now, they're looking at, while Paramount Plus, within the remerged Paramount Global, now that CBS and Viacom are back together, and the CBS All Access now is Paramount Plus, it's been growing. They're saying that Q2 last year, they went from 3.4% of the whole streaming pie to 5.4% in Q2 of this year. Some of that's, they're saying a lot of it's Star Trek. Some of it's been their Yellowstone prequel, 1883, has been popular. The series adaptation of Halo, the game, has been popular, and it has been growing. They have now up to 43 million subscribers. This is the company saying this. 4.9 million. What Parrot is looking at, though, is that the share of subscriber pie, because Netflix is shrinking, as we all know, things are diversifying. Hulu is about the same. Amazon Prime is about the same. What's happened is Disney has grown, nearly doubled, maybe grown by 2/3. Apple TV has jumped in and about the same. They've grown by 2/3. And then HBO Max, since 2020, has jumped in as a streamer, as an original streamer. And that's what we're talking about here, original streaming. The share of the original streaming pie. Now, Paramount's grown from 4.2 to 5.4%. They've been under the radar. They're holding their own. And yeah, it's been all on the back of Star Trek. What Parent Analytics is looking at when they say they're in demand, their demand aesthetic, they're looking at the top in-demand shows on Paramount Plus. And guess what? Star Trek Picard is #1, followed by Strange New Worlds, #2. And the way they do their metric now, they do it as not as in raw demand, but as a factor of the average show that they measure. So Star Trek Picard, for the second quarter, that's, April, May, June. The second quarter was which was a prime time of dropping shows, was at 25.8%, or 25.84 times an average show. Strange New Worlds right behind at 24.3 times an average show. And then behind that at Halo, then Discovery at 16.1%, which, to be fair, was mostly out of its season. Then 1883, SEAL Team, iCarly, Lower Decks at 12.83, Prodigy at 11.12, and then The Offer. That was the top 10 Paramount Plus shows in their own platform, their own channel, in order. What's happening, what they're saying, though, is that among the two shows, that Picard versus Strange New Worlds, and this is what was of interest to me. Well, let me take that back. They're saying they're comparing Picard versus Strange New Worlds season 1 premiere. So they're going back to the opening Picard premiere, pre-pandemic, remember, a couple of weeks before all the lockdowns hit. March 2020, they're looking at the season 1 premiere demand. Again, not eyeballs, but the way they measure demand. They've got a chart for the season 1, the pilot premiere of Picard from 2020 versus Strange New Worlds this year, just a couple of months ago. And they're consistently seeing that Picard was higher as 8 days, 16 days, 20, as the days go along, including a 64-day spike on Picard. May have been a free day. I don't know, free week offer. But the conclusion that they're drawing here is that this is a sign measuring demand of the pilots 2 years apart for Picard and Strange New Worlds. This is a sign to them that the gloss is off of Star Trek as a newbie driver for Paramount Plus. Not to say that the audience is drying up, but if they want to stay on top, I just thought it was an interesting data set. They're not looking at what's going on recently. Everything has been, their conclusion is they're saying it may be wise for Paramount to direct more resources to other projects, like the Yellowstone universe, 1883 and 1932, which I've not watched. They're also, and they're talking about the Halo and other game platforms. There's this screaming headline, why Paramount Plus needs to look for new frontiers to compete in the streaming wars. In other words, get off your Star Trek dependence, get out and develop other franchises. Well, of course, that's good advice anytime, right? I mean, don't just lean on one franchise. Get out and there's some old wives' tales we can use here, some old allegorical phrases. You can get out and develop franchises. This is the back end of this. The adverse of this is sounding like they're saying that the demand for Star Trek is growing up. But I would say that the demand is just starting to grow. There's buzz. There was the bump. I think it was a bump out of Comic-Con. I was just really curious that they're comparing, to get that premise, to come up with that hypothesis. They're comparing the premiere of Picard in March 2020, pre-pandemic, with the premiere of Strange New Worlds now. And I would almost say that some of that's got to be due to the fact that Picard was a global entity, known, and melted down the internet when they announced the show. I mean, I could even see reasons why that would be, but I don't think going back to 2020, after all we've been through, is the right data set to come up with this kind of a premise. Now, the other headline that grabbed my attention, apparently this one in the wrap with data provided by Parrot, saying, get off your Star Trek dependence, Paramount Plus, you got to develop more, which again is good advice anytime. But if you're going to imply from that or infer from that Star Trek is wearing out, let's look at this announcement 4 days ago, August 4th. Paramount Global, the whole shebang now, the whole reimagined and remerged shebang corporation, headed by Bob Bakish, had its quarterly sales call. Everything is rosy. Everything is growing. Top Gun Maverick in the film division was a big part of that. The film unit had 126% revenue gain. Ad revenue in the TV media unit dropped a little, and higher streaming investments hit their bottom line. So this is an overall, and I'm not going to get lost in the weeds here, but they've got nearly 64 million streaming customers. That's everything, not just Paramount Plus. All right. Now, here's the thing. They gave up 3.9 million subscribers that they cut off in Russia as part of the pushback on the Ukraine invasion. So Paramount gave up 3.9 million paying customers inside Russia, which was incredible. Overall, the whole company revenue jumped 19%. They had 126% growth in the film industry, I said. Ad revenue down a little bit in the TV media unit. Of course, that's everything from CBS broadcast on down. All the little companies channels that like Pluto, that you globalists have been watching some of Star Trek's on. But bottom line is Paramount Plus itself added 4.9 million subscribers. Now, you offset that with the 1.2 rush of subscribers just on Paramount Plus. But overall, they hit over 43 million. They had 39.6 million at the end of March. So just in April, May, and June, in the next quarter, what is that, 10%? Over 10%, 12%? They say Paramount Plus had the most signups, gross and net subscriber additions of any premium domestic streaming service in the quarter. Now, you're always looking for headlines in the way you skew stats, but that's nothing, including, this is global, including the launches in the UK, Ireland, and South Korea. So, I mean, they've been bearish about that. And they're talking about more than Star Trek. Halo 1883, Lost City, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Jackass Forever, Strange New Worlds, yes, which was in Parrot's own data, the first week or two was the hottest streaming show in the world. Anyway, that's been a drag on things overall. But Paramount Plus looks like it's up maybe 10%-ish. They're not putting a percentage to it. So I don't know. It's just, if you're scanning the media headlines and you see Paramount hits nearly 64 million global streaming subs as Paramount Plus grows to top 43 million subscribers. And then if you read a line where you gave up 4 million, whatever it was, in Russia. So this is a case where you see competing headlines. You may even have a gut feeling. I'm not saying that the Wrap.com, I'm not saying that Parrot's numbers, their own metric, weren't good. I just don't know about the data points they proceeded from. So if you're on my channels, I didn't do this with the newsletter, but just in the last 12 to 24 hours, I thought I would check out what Twitter and Instagram had to say about this. And I want to make it very clear that I am not stirring anything up. I'm not trying to make favorites among the family here. We all have them, but I don't want to go out public and say, hey, everybody, let's fight over this. No, what I wanted to do was totally anecdotal, not scientific, but see what the reaction was if it matched my gut feeling. On Instagram, on my Instagram stories, I said, hey, react to this story. What is your favorite? Picard or Strange New Worlds? Or are they even? You can't decide. Well, now we didn't have a lot. We had 80-something voters, but of the 80 voters, Strange New Worlds, 68%. Picard, 16%. And they're even, I can't decide, 16%. That's about what I figured my gut reaction was. Then I look at Twitter, where I have a much bigger platform. We had 373 votes on Twitter. That's a fair. Now, it's my Twitter following, unless it was retweeted over. Not sure. Here, the percentage was 71.6% said Strange New Worlds, 14.7% said Picard, 13.7% said they're even, I can't decide. Which, if you look at this, is within 3 points. 3 points on the big one, a point or two on the small. But basically, the bell curve is right on. Again, it's anecdotal. It's not scientific. These are Instagram users of me, my followers on Instagram, and you should be if you're not. My followers on Twitter. It was just a snap poll the last 12 hours or so from last evening on. 24 hours for Twitter, 12 hours for Instagram. And maybe, is this confirmation bias? And maybe in Trekland, in my world, with you guys, that's the reaction. Now, I had a lot of people on Twitter who are looking at did you know that if you're on a third-party app and you're on Twitter, though, these polls only show up if you're in native Twitter? If you're on any other, if you're on any other Twitter reader, tweet bot, for one, you don't see that. So people just saw me ask the question. They didn't see the little box that you could click in that would tally. And I got all kinds of random answers. And I'm going to say the random answers, before I warned everybody to go to real Twitter to do the box, the random answers were overwhelmingly Strange New Worlds, a few Picard, and a couple of I can't decide. Don't make me pick among my children. Anyway, I thought that was very interesting. But it's a good lesson in Star Trek or, in politics, in anything, in sports stats. When I say check your sources, sometimes I mean like check the graphs. Any good story looking at data like that should talk about their methodology, and not to put you to sleep, but just to give you a bare bone. That's why I'm saying, checking this story in the Wrap, I didn't understand why looking at the premiere of Picard and the premiere of Strange New Worlds was going to give you any kind of a feel for where things were right now. And if they're giving advice to a corporation about what to do in their coming quarters, I don't quite know what using a 2020 comparison just because it's an apple to an apple of a premiere of a series, what that has to do with anything. Anyway, so there's the parrots. There's that. We're in kind of a fallow time. We're waiting on Lower Decks to start. Some of these news events are trickling into us. It's summer. People are on vacation, and a lot of you are going to summer cons. You've already been out, so I hope everybody's doing all the things. Again, I think people are going to be confused by that headline when they see it in the wrap. I think more importantly, I think a lot of mundanes, I think a lot of people in the industry, bean counters and decision makers, are going to see that and go, well, Star Trek is losing its luster. It's worn off its new. And I don't think that's true at all. It depends on the product, but it's also a rapidly evolving market out there with the streaming platforms all coming back around to where cable was. They're merging. That's going to be an interesting mess. I still say, though, Star Trek is in a little bit of a protected class because they do depend on it so much. Paramount Plus does depend on it to drive subscribers. The subscriber base is growing. I don't think we're wearing anybody out because the short nature of the series. It was good to take a rest, though. I will say it was good to take a rest a month or so ago. But I think people are going to be ready for Lower Decks. They're going to be ready, get on with it already for the TNG reunion in Picard Season 3. They're going to get on with it already for the next season of Strange New Worlds, especially knowing it's been shot. They're going to say, get on already with poor Prodigy being dribbled out in 5s and 10s. What's the other show? Oh, yeah, Discovery. They're going to say, Discovery's been a new series every season. I wonder what the 5th incarnation of Discovery will look like. And I say that saying that, all the series had to shoot through the pandemic, which affected the feel and tone somewhat, much less the sanity level of the producers and editors and second ADs handling extras and visual effects and composers in post. It'll be good to see what people in a halfway sane, let's hope, landscape health-wise will provide us. But I do not think the luster is off. I haven't seen anything so boneheaded as when the head guy was talking about audience fatigue at the end of Enterprise, when I was pretty sure it was producer fatigue. The audience, as the fan film showed, were just getting revved up. If you build it, they will come. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in and voted on Instagram and on Twitter. If you're not on any of my socials, please do. Like and subscribe the old YouTube if you're not there yet, whether you're watching me now there or not. Most of all, a huge shout-out, obviously, always, to our Patreons, our TTL Club. And I'm talking to you, Diana Hopkins, Lawrence Todd, Keith Rombach, Blaze K, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, Andrew Zimsky, and Pranakasha Productions. And our live wires, of course. Rusty Harold, Halberd Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Johansson, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shafsky. Really love you. Love you for helping us out. We are slowly expanding things, can you tell? Got some surprises coming up. You can be a Patreon helper too, supporter, $5 or $10. A shout out, access to our prior early day archives from Portal 47, all the backstage creatives. We are still working on that. We're going to get it there, but appreciate all the support from everybody. Thanks so much. Patreon.com/Tuesday Live was the thing. And yeah, the Trek Files is still on hiatus right now, but we'll be back in a few weeks. The first 8 seasons are all there. Podcast.roddenberry.com. If you want the documents, though, you got to go to our Facebook page. We're everywhere you get your podcasts. The only place to get the digital paper that we talk about is at Facebook. So I appreciate everybody liking us over there and following, no matter where you actually pick the show up, all right? Wow. Everywhere else, though, it's Larry Nemecek on Twitter. It's Larry Nemecek's Trekland or Larry's Trekland on YouTube. Please subscribe and like us over there. Do the alert, ring the bell, all that stuff. You can do that on Facebook, too. And, of course, Instagram. You might get another chance to vote in a poll also as well. Of course, LarryNemecek.com, you can get on our list, and we have the newsletters over there. Hey, everybody. Did I get around to everything? I think I did. Just want to have one more last call here on if you're if you're watching later on YouTube, our August 20th and 21st Great Bird Origins Tour. If you want to get this deal, though, it's by Thursday midnight. I've got 2 seats. We will do them $50 off. You'll have to pay for them full price. But if you let me know, anybody that I see buying one of these last seats, I'll email you back and say, do you have something to tell me? And then you will say, saw it on Tuesday's Live. And then boom, I will refund your 50 back. That's the way we'll keep this simple. Alrighty. Can't wait for this. This is a whole new thing. It's not locations. We're going to go to the life sites, life, family, career, work, and hear from Rod that made Gene and made Star Trek out of the gate and for forever. Gave it its DNA right here around LA, not Toronto. All right. We love our Toronto creatives. We love our Toronto creatives, but history is history. If you are watching us later on YouTube, oh boy, please stay healthy out there. Do all the things. Stay woke. Check your sources. And of course, truck well, everybody.